Welcome to the most important video of my farming system. It will be all about the actual farming plots that you can see here. Those are finished plants that you can harvest. You can dig basically new plots, and this one is a little bit different. If you harvest it, it will go back to an earlier stage. You can water it again. This NPC just skips one day, so for testing purpose it's kind of nice. So you can harvest it again. You can plant seeds, basically. You can dig new holes. Yeah, and just plant them. And I also have a watering system in place. But I will make a separate video about this. Yeah, and then the same happens also if it rains. So yeah, that's how it works. I think it's a pretty neat system. And if you're wondering why there are different colors on my field, that's just, you need basically to upgrade your shovel, but they work the same. Yeah, so let's have a look at the actual event for the plots. So this is the event for my farming plots. I guess it seems a little overwhelming if you look at all those sheets, but you will see why this is necessary in a second. But we start at the first sheet. It's a sheet that checks if you have the right tool equipped to dig. So basically it's an empty event that does not collide with the player, so you can just walk basically over it and you don't collide. And yeah, you don't need this check collision state. I don't know. I mean, I know why it's here, but you don't need it. Just concentrate on this side here. And let's just go and check what it does. So it checks the energy value and compares it to your efficiency of your tool, basically. See, so you need more energy than your shovel uses, basically. Then you have a little change motion, play sound, and this is quite funny. The wait time is shovel time. You wait shovel time seconds. This is a variable I use for my tool upgrading system. So if you have a better shovel, you dig faster. You don't need this. Maybe you decide on doing something similar, then you can make this, but it's not necessary. So again, another change motion. This you don't need as well. It's a random item drop from my game. You really don't need this, like those three things here. Then you need to reduce your energy by your tool's efficiency, basically, like how much energy your tool uses. Then I have add 1 to my shovel XP, so if you want to use level up system, this is neat, and you can also execute your level common event, your level up common event here right after this. I showed you that in the tool management video. And then you assign 1 to a variable, like you can call it however you want. I don't even know why it's called this. In my case, it's like this. You can call it stage counter, for example, or something like that. So this is the last thing you do, which brings you to this sheet. As you can see, this variable needs to be 1. So, yeah, it checks basically which seed is equipped. I have a seed system in place that is basically the same as my tool system. So if you want to replicate it, it's the same. Like it checks the variable for which seed is equipped. One is in this case carrot seeds, and I check basically for every seed that is available. Like if seed equipped is 3, it's gonna do that. 2, it's gonna do that. But we are checking out the carrot seed for now. So the carrots. So if this seed is equipped, it goes to this one and it checks if the variable carrot seed is greater than 0. So you need seeds in order to plant them, which makes sense. Then little sound effect, little like these things you need to tweak as it fits your visual stuff. But you need to reduce your count, your seed count by 1 if you use a seed. And I also have this. I keep track of how many plants I have on my field. This is for my watering, for my sprinkler system basically. It is optional, but I guess I will make a follow-up video on the sprinkler system as well. Then the stage counter variable, which has this weird name in my case, will be 2, and the carrot switch will be on. You will see sometimes I have German words, sometimes I have English words. It's very chaotic, but I hope you still understand what I'm doing here. So this variable gets increased and the carrot switch gets turned on. So basically this will be triggered. So you have now a planted seed and you see this variable is 2 and the carrot switch is on. The nice thing is of using this variable, it is the same for example, if you plant a cabbage seed, it's also 2. But you have the cabbage switch on instead. So you can, if you want to target those stages of your crops, you can target, well, this is not right. Yep, I don't know why. Sometimes you need to be careful if you use your mouse wheel, or sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You can actually change values. Like, did you see that? It was 8, now it's 26. I just used my mouse wheel a little bit. This needs to be 2 as well. So what I wanted to say is, this is always 2 for the first stage of the plants. So you can target them if you check for this variable, if it's 2 basically. It comes in pretty handy if you want to water them with rain basically. So I will explain that a little bit later, but let's go back to the carrot seed. So you planted the carrot seed, now it checks for the watering can, which is like the 5th tool I have. So if you have the watering can equipped and you have water inside of your watering can, it will check if you have enough energy, so a lot of checks, but it's kind of necessary. So you need the watering can, you need enough water, and you need enough energy. So what happens after that? Energy gets reduced. This is not important for you. This is again part of my random item drop system. You can ignore that. Then you want to reduce the amount of water in your watering can. Add again experience for watering your fields to your water can. Then I have a sound effect, and then this is quite important. You need to assign a local variable to your, like you assign the day to a local variable basically. So if you have day 1, for example, this variable will be 1. Then you add 1 to the counter, so it becomes 2. Then I have this here. Like I said, I keep track of the plants on my field. I reduce it because I only keep track of the ones that need water. So if you just watered it, it will be reduced. You don't need this, it's just for me. And then you get, this variable gets increased because we are going to the next stage of the carrot thing. And keep in mind, this variable is now 2 because it is equal day, which is in this example 1, and will be increased by 1. So now we have the same thing, but in wet you see it's a little darker because it just got watered. And now this event, it's very short. Like it's again the same for every second stage of every plant. It's 3, this variable, and carrot switch is active. So this event checks if day is equal to this variable. That is basically 2. It's the one from the last page. I hope you remember. It's not that long ago. Yeah, so it's gonna check if this is equal to that to basically go to the next event page, because this is watered for the day you're watering it, but after that you want to go to another dry stage basically. That's the reason for this variable check. And I add again a planted count because I now have again a dry field after this executes, and I'm gonna assign 4 to the variable that counts basically the stage. So we are now in this one. Now the seed has grown a little bit. Again, carrot switch still on. This is still 4, and this is very much the same as this one. It's like the dry stages are pretty similar and the wet stages are pretty similar. There are some things that are a little bit different. For example, in this case it's the same. So it's basically the same. Just you can just copy and paste. Just make sure you have this correct and the right graphic to display basically. But yeah, it will be the same. Now we go to the next wet stage of the carrot. We are here now. Yes. As you can see, it's a little bit darker. This is now 5. And here is a little difference to the last wet event, because this stage lasts longer than the last one. This is basically 2 days. So you're gonna check again if your counter, like to check if it's the next day and the field is dry again basically. And then this again, which is not that important. And then you check for a variable, a local variable basically. And it's called, in my case, cabbage cycle, because I did it first for the cabbage and then I just kept using the same variable because there is no need to create more. It's basically a variable for if you have like a crop and you have a stage of the crop like this one where the seed is already grown a little bit and you want to keep it longer than 1 day and you want to count these days, you need a variable, and it's like cabbage cycle in my case, and it checks if cabbage cycle is 1, and it starts at 0 by default, so the first time it will just go to no and will assign 4 to our stage counter and will add 1 to cabbage cycle. So we go back to this sheet, and we water the field again, and we are back here. And since our cabbage cycle was increased by 1, this is now a yes. So cabbage cycle is 1. 6 gets assigned to our stage counter, and cabbage cycle, this is important, will be 0 again. If you don't do this, you basically break this whole thing, and it will always be yes, and it does not work anymore. Like, you don't want this, so always reset your variable. So now the stage counter is 6. Like for carrots, that's it. Like maybe I was a little bit lazy with this, but I mean you can make as many stages as you want. I have more stages for the cabbage, for example, but it's the same principle. So I will just explain the carrot, and you should be able to make anything out of this basically. So you have the stage counter on 6, and still the carrot switch on. So you have a little visual stuff, a little sound if you harvest your finished crop. I did the sparkle with a subgraphic, just a little explanation. I like it if you see if the crop is ready. So this is all basically visual stuff. And then I have a crop level up system in place that I did not explain yet because you don't need it, and I'm not really happy with it right now. So basically what it does, it increases my chance of getting a better carrot if my level is higher. So if you harvest the carrot, you get XP, like for using tools. It's a very similar system. And if your level is higher, the chance gets higher to get like a golden carrot. Like at level 1, you can't even get a golden carrot. It's a system like this. I will make a follow-up video if I'm happy with the system, but it's a work in progress. I mean, it works, but yeah, you can just ignore this whole part here. I mean, you need to do, like, give the player an actual item. Like in this example, you want to give him a carrot. You can also just for now just make a random assignment, like a number between 1 and x, and just make a check variable box and assign different rarities if you want to, but it's not that important. So of course I want to reduce my planted count because this will be empty again. And here's a very important part. The stage counter will be 0 again. So we are going back to the very first event, which is the empty blank field. And you need to turn off the carrot switch because your carrot is now gone. You are back to this event from the very beginning where it checks for a shovel. I mean, you can do this however you want. You can also go back to a blank field if you want to. But for me, since there is a level up system in place for the shovel, I want the player to dig new holes every time he harvests something, so he can actually get more experience for the shovel. So this is one type of crop, like the carrot. You plant it, it grows, you harvest, it is gone. But there is also another type of crop. It's the bean. If you harvest the bean, if it's in this... Wait a minute, I'm not at the bean. So if it's at that stage and you harvest it, it will go back to this stage. And I will show you how this is done. So you can harvest it more than once. So here's the finished bean. You see this counter is 8 here. It never reached 8 in the carrot event because the bean has one more stage. It's as simple as that. And you see there is a bean switch activated. So this is again visual stuff. Yeah, I have it for my beans. I have like a random counter. So you get between 2 and 4 beans if you harvest the bean plant, and it's again the level up thing which was in place in the carrot, so nothing different here. So now I have, you remember the cabbage cycle that is used for like how long a stage lasts? I have now a bean cycle. So the bean cycle basically, it checks if the bean cycle is greater than 1, and if it's not at 1 to bean cycle, and assign 6 to the stage counter. So we go back to the stage before that. Let me take a look to this stage. Yes. Exactly, good. And if the stage counter, the bean cycle variable is great, and keep in mind it is greater than 1. So if it's 1, it's still going to go back to the previous stage. So you can basically harvest it 2 times. Wait a minute. If it's 0, you can harvest it. If it's 1, you can harvest it. Well, I know for a fact you can harvest it 3 times, but I don't... You know what I mean? It's... Well, it is how it is. You can set this up however you want. You can say if this is equal to 5, it will despawn basically. How often, like you can set this however you want. I want it to be harvestable for 3 times before it goes back to this one. But yeah, this is how you set it up. It's pretty simple. So now I have some passive events here, like a rain switch and a sprinkler switch. And the rain switch one, this is why it's great to have the same stage counter for every crop, because the even numbers are always the dry fields and the uneven counters are the wet fields. So it's easy to keep in mind. So it checks, is this met? So like here, this variable is 2 now. And the rain switch is on. What this does is basically the same as, so it assigns this. So it's basically watering your plants. I always have to check myself because it's been a while since I made this, but it's the same stuff as, nope, the same stuff that happens here, basically. Yeah, and I have the same event for, like, if this variable is 4, this will be here, so it's again a dry stage, and also 6 will be a dry stage for the cabbage, for example. So I have only 3 dry stages. This is why I only have 3. Yeah, okay, I know what I did here. So the carrot only has 2 dry stages, so I'm also checking if the carrot switch is off, because this does only apply if the carrot is off. So yeah, if you have a weather system in place, I mean, it's really just a switch that you need here. If the rain switch is on, this happens. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering why this one here is not here, because it's also reduced by 1 if it's wet after this execution. So this is how you do the rain, basically. I also have the same for the sprinkler. I have a different switch for that, but it is exactly the same. Yeah, so this is how my plot of land works. I did not explain what this is. This is just the same event as this one, exactly the same, but it's just wet. If it rains, the field will be wet, so it's just a visual thing. Yeah. If you need it, I just like how it looks. It's kind of weird if it rains and you have empty plot of land and it's just dry. Kind of strange. Yeah. Okay. That's about it for this system. I hope it was not too confusing. I mean, I show you how the event looks. If you have trouble to follow my weird English, you can just you can pause the video and just check out the events. Should be good enough, I guess. So hope it helped you a little bit. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.